many times per week should you train to get the best results? We only have 24 hours a day and 7 days a week to build muscle, burn fat, and improve body composition. Because time is so limited, many people believe they can condense their workout to no more than 3 days per week while still achieving optimal results. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fence is the belief that you can get much faster results by training more frequently, 5, 6, or even 7 days per week. Some advanced athletes even swear by double training sessions, where they train once in the morning and once in the evening, several times a week. After all, which is best for you? Are you missing out on gains by training too little, or perhaps wearing yourself out by overtraining? Today you will see the answer to this question based on current science, analyzing scientific evidence about different training frequencies to discover which approach can maximize your results. But before we begin, please leave in the comments your name and the city from where you are watching our content. Low frequency, 3 days per week. Let's start by analyzing the training frequency of 3 days per week, popularized by traditional programs like the ABC split. What does science say about training 3 times per week? A study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research followed beginning weightlifters for 8 weeks, comparing groups that trained 3 versus 6 days per week. Surprisingly, for this group of beginners, when the total training volume was equalized, meaning they performed the same weekly amount of sets, the strength and hypertrophy gains were similar between the two groups. This suggests something fundamental. For beginners and intermediates, it's not necessarily the frequency that determines results, but rather the total weekly training volume. If you can complete 12 quality sets for each muscle group in just 3 training days, this can be as effective as spreading those 12 sets over 6 days. Advantages of training 3 times per week. Number 1, optimized recovery. With intervals of 48 to 72 hours between workouts, your body has ample time to recover completely. This is particularly important for those who are just starting or for those with lower recovery capacity, whether due to genetics, advanced age, or other factors. Number 2, less interference with routine. Training only 3 days frees up more time for other activities, making it ideal for people with overloaded schedules or for those who need to balance family, work, and studies. Number 3, lower risk of injuries. Fewer training days means less exposure to potential injury situations, especially for practitioners with not yet refined technique. Disadvantages of training only 3 days per week. Number 1, sessions tend to be longer. To compensate for the lower frequency, each session needs to be longer to achieve the necessary volume, which can be exhausting and reduce the quality of training in the final exercises, where muscles will already be worn out. Number 2, lower frequency of stimulus per muscle group. Some studies suggest that stimulating a muscle group with higher weekly frequency can optimize muscle protein synthesis. Number 3, limitation for advanced athletes. Advanced practitioners generally need a higher training volume, which can be difficult to accommodate in just 3 days without making sessions excessively long. So for whom is the 3-day frequency most suitable? Beginners who are still developing execution technique, people with extremely busy routines, individuals with reduced recovery capacity, and people over 40 to 50 years old who generally need more recovery time. Intermediate frequency, 5 days per week. Moving on to a more balanced approach, we have the frequency of 5 days per week, which offers an interesting middle ground between recovery and frequent stimulus. What does science say about training 5 times per week? A meta-analysis published in the International Journal of Sports Medicine reviewed 25 studies on training frequency and concluded that, for intermediate to advanced practitioners, increasing weekly training frequency while maintaining total volume can bring additional benefits for hypertrophy. This happens because training with greater frequency allows you to maintain the technical quality of sets, optimize muscle protein synthesis peaks throughout the week, and better distribute neuromuscular fatigue. Main advantages of training 5 times per week. Number 1, shorter and more focused sessions. With 5 days available, you can better distribute the weekly volume, conducting shorter sessions, and maintaining high execution quality. Number 2, higher frequency of stimulus per muscle group. It's possible to train each muscle group 2 to 3 times per week, which can optimize muscle protein synthesis. Number 3, Higher weekly caloric expenditure. More training days mean more days with elevated post-exercise metabolic rate, which can contribute to fat loss. Number 4, greater flexibility in programming. With 5 days available, you have more freedom to create personalized training splits, such as push-pull legs workouts twice a week, with 1 day for specific muscle groups. Disadvantages of training 5 times per week. Number 1, less time for complete recovery. With only 2 weekly rest days, some practitioners may accumulate fatigue if volume and intensity management are not adequate. Number 2, greater time commitment. 5 days at the gym require a significant time commitment, which can be challenging for people with very busy routines. Number 3, need for better periodization strategy. With more weekly sessions, it becomes more important to properly plan the distribution of volume and intensity to avoid overtraining. So for whom is the 5-day frequency most suitable? Intermediate to advanced practitioners, people with schedule flexibility, individuals with good recovery capacity, and people who enjoy shorter and more focused training sessions. A practical example of a 5-day training split would be Monday, chest and triceps, Tuesday, back and biceps, Wednesday, legs, Thursday, shoulders and abs, Friday, full body workout focusing on weak points, Saturday and Sunday, rest, high frequency, 7 days per week. And now, let's go to the extreme, training every day of the week without rest. Does this intense approach really provide superior results? Or is it just a fast track to overtraining? What does science say about training 7 times per week? Science on this point is clear. For most people, training 7 days a week without rest is not ideal and can be counterproductive. The American College of Sports Medicine recommends at least 1 to 2 weekly rest days to allow adequate recovery. A study published in the European Journal of Applied Physiology showed that athletes who trained without rest days exhibited a decline in testosterone levels and an increase in cortisol after 4 weeks, indicating an unfavorable catabolic state for muscle building. However, this doesn't mean that training 7 days a week is impossible. The key lies in the strategy used. How to implement 7 days of training effectively. If you really want to train daily, science suggests 2 main approaches. Number 1, rotation of muscle groups. Try to ensure that each muscle group has at least 48 to 72 hours of recovery between direct stimuli. Number 2, variation of intensity. Alternate high-intensity days with low-intensity days or active recovery workouts. For example, Monday, legs with high intensity. Tuesday, chest and triceps with high intensity. Wednesday, light cardio or mobility with low intensity. Thursday, back and biceps with high intensity. Friday, shoulders and abs with high intensity. Saturday, legs but with a different focus than Monday. For example, if Monday was quadriceps, Saturday would be posterior chain. Sunday, recovery and mobility workout. Advantages of training 7 times per week when well structured. Number 1, opportunity for specialized work. With 7 days, you can dedicate exclusive sessions to work on mobility, technique, specific weak points, or complementary skills. Number 2, psychological management. Some people mentally benefit from daily consistency and the therapy provided by training. Number 3, greater distributed weekly volume. For advanced athletes who need high volume, distributing it over 7 days can allow shorter and higher quality sessions. Disadvantages of training 7 times per week. Number 1, elevated risk of overtraining. Without complete rest days, the risk of overtraining increases significantly, especially for natural athletes. Number 2, compromised recovery. Without adequate recovery time, gains may stagnate or even regress. Number 3, impact on social life. The need to go to the gym every day can significantly interfere with personal life. Number 4, increased risk of injuries, especially if there is no variation in intensity and type of training. Number 5, low applicability for non-enhanced individuals. Without the aid of exogenous substances to accelerate recovery, this frequency may be excessive for most people. For whom can the 7-day frequency be considered? Professional athletes with specialized supervision, advanced practitioners with excellent recovery capacity, individuals who alternate different modalities such as weightlifting, swimming, and yoga, and those who use some days for very low-intensity workouts or active recovery. Direct comparison between frequencies. What studies show? Let's analyze what science says when we directly compare different training frequencies. A meta-analysis conducted by Schoenfeld and his collaborators in 2016 evaluated 10 studies comparing different training frequencies and concluded that for more advanced groups, when total volume is equalized, training each muscle group twice a week produced approximately 3.1% greater hypertrophy gains than training each muscle group only once a week. Another systematic review published in Sports Medicine in 2018 corroborates this conclusion, indicating that frequencies of 2 to 3 times per week per muscle group seem to be superior to lower frequencies for maximizing hypertrophy, provided that the total volume is sufficient. This means that the most important factor is not necessarily how many days per week you go to the gym, but rather how many times you stimulate each muscle group within that period. So how do you choose the ideal frequency for you? Here are some factors you should consider. First, your training level. If you are a beginner, 3 to 4 days per week are generally sufficient and allow adequate recovery while you develop technique. If you are intermediate, 4 to 5 days per week may be ideal, allowing greater volume and frequency of stimulus. If advanced, 5 to 6 days per week may be necessary to accommodate the greater volume you need to continue progressing. Second, your time availability. There's no point in planning a 6-day per week routine if your schedule only allows 3 to 4 consistent days. Remember, consistency trumps theoretical optimization. Third, your recovery capacity. Factors that affect your recovery capacity include age, keeping in mind that older people generally need more recovery time, genetics, sleep quality, nutrition, stress levels, and use of ergogenic substances. Fourth, your specific goals. For maximum hypertrophy, science suggests a frequency of 2 to 3 stimuli per muscle group per week, which can be distributed over 4 to 6 training days. For maximum strength, 3 to 5 training days, focusing on compound movements and adequate recovery periods. For fat loss, 4 to 6 days can be beneficial for higher total caloric expenditure, combining strength training and strategic cardio. Fifth and last, your enjoyment and adherence to training. The best training program is the one you can follow consistently for months and years. If you hate training 6 days a week, this approach will not be sustainable in the long term, regardless of what science says about its theoretical optimization. Practical strategies to optimize results, regardless of frequency. Number 1, prioritize adequate total weekly volume. Research indicates that for hypertrophy, a weekly volume of 10 to 20 sets per muscle group seems ideal for most people. Distribute this volume according to your chosen frequency. Number 2, implement progressive overload. Regardless of how many times you train per week, if there is no progression in loads over time, whether in weight, repetitions, or technique, results will stagnate. Number 3, periodize your training. Alternate phases of higher and lower volume and intensity to avoid plateaus and overtraining. For example, 4 to 6 weeks of increasing volume and then 1 to 2 weeks of reduction. Number 4, monitor your recovery markers. Pay attention to your sleep quality, willingness to train, performance in exercises, and whether there are persistent joint pains. If these indicators are compromised, it may be time to reduce training frequency or volume. Number 5, always seek to optimize factors outside the gym. Even the best training frequency will not compensate for insufficient sleep, inadequate nutrition, high chronic stress, and inadequate hydration. Final conclusions and answers about ideal frequency. After analyzing all available scientific evidence, we arrive at a conclusion that might not be as simple as you would like, but it's the truth. There is no universal training frequency that is ideal for everyone, but research can point to some general guidelines. First, for most people, training each muscle group 2 to 3 times per week seems to be more efficient for hypertrophy than just once. Second, total weekly volume is more important than frequency itself, but distributing this volume across more sessions generally allows better execution quality. Third, the ideal frequency should allow adequate recovery between stimuli. For most, this means at least 1 to 2 days of complete rest per week. Fourth, for beginners, 3 to 4 days per week are generally sufficient. Intermediates benefit from 4 to 5 days, while advanced practitioners may need 5 to 6 days to accommodate the necessary volume. Fifth, Your ideal frequency is one that you can maintain consistently for long periods. My final recommendation, therefore, is start with a lower frequency like 3 to 4 days if you are a beginner, and gradually increase as your recovery capacity, technique, and conditioning improve. Monitor your results, energy, and motivation, and adjust as necessary. Remember, consistency over the years trumps excessive short-term optimization. It's better to train 4 days a week for years than 6 days for a few weeks until you get injured or give up due to burnout. Find a frequency that works for your life and that you can maintain for years, not just for weeks or months. The best physiques aren't built in weeks of perfect training, but in years of consistent training. If you liked this and want to know what the newest studies say about how many minutes you should rest before performing each set, we have a video showing everything about that appearing on screen right now. Thank you for watching this far, and may God bless you, my friend.